Hey, this is Stu with the Military Investor Network, and I'm going to go over some criteria to help choose a market when you're looking at trying to decide on where you want to invest. I think one of the biggest questions that I get asked frequently is, where should I invest? A lot of people live in expensive areas. For us in the military, especially in the Navy, we live, mostly on the coasts, and the coasts seem to be, in general, more expensive than in the middle of the United States. So a lot of people just don't even know where to start. So here's some criteria that can help as far as trying to decide on a market to choose from. And this is by no means the only criteria to look at. This is a good start. If the market that you're looking at fits within these categories on the positive, then I think it's a good place to go. So here's 8 criteria in no particular order, and we'll talk about kind of what is most important out of all of these at the end. But in general, you want population growth in an area, you want job growth, you want a diversified economy, you want the state to be landlord friendly, you want the state to be business friendly. You need to kind of know what the market is doing as far as the cycle goes in that area, and you need to be familiar with the area. And then lastly, kind of most obvious, is the numbers need to make sense. So we'll kind of go over these in order here and try to talk about where we can find this information. Some is easier than others. But first, on population growth, you obviously want population growth in an area because the more people coming in, the more places need rented, and if you are owning rental property, it's a good place to start. So here's some websites that can help you out as far as looking to find out if population is growing in an area. The U.S. Census Bureau does reports every year. You can go to their website, and they do a huge data dump of all kinds of information and statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, although this is more labor-centric, it will help you kind of realize, if there's more jobs coming in, there's going to be more people coming in. Housing and urban development. You can go to that website. There's all kinds of reports. If you choose a city, you can go to the city website. Most often they'll have an economic development website, and that'll help you see what's going on in the area, what's kind of growing. Sperling's Best Places. I think this is a really good website that's kind of all encompassing. It'll give you all kinds of statistics on a certain city, and population growth is one of those data metrics that they show. And then commercial websites. A lot of times, like Marcus and Millichamp or CBRE or some, they'll do reports on big metros. They're probably not going to have a report on the small tertiary markets, but the big primary markets, Los Angeles, San Diego, Atlanta, Dallas, New York, things like that. Big cities, they'll have some reports on. Okay, job growth. Job growth brings population growth, kind of one and the same there. So very similar as far as Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics, the HUD, the city websites, Sperling's Best, Marcus and Millichamp. The Neighborhood Scout is another one, similar to Sperling's Best. You can choose the city and then look it up, and it's going to give you all kinds of information. Diverse economy. This one is really important, and it kind of got me when I started looking at first. I'm originally from Central Texas, near a big Army base, and I was looking to invest there, and quickly realized that the entire economy is surrounded around an Army base. And as soon as a entire Army division goes out on deployment, you lose a very large amount of population, which means you lose a lot of renters. So you want to be in an area where there are more than just one type of job, one type of economy, and particularly you want big companies that are hubbed in those areas. So citydata.com is a really good website that can help you figure out what's in that area. Again, Neighborhood Scout, Sperling's Best Places. You can go to the city website. The Chamber of Commerce has a lot of good information. And then probably the easiest thing to do is just use Google. If you just Google top businesses in whatever city you're looking at, or Fortune 500 companies in whatever city you're looking at, you're probably going to find some pretty good information out. But I think that's really important, is you want to make sure that there's a lot of different types of jobs in an area. Okay, landlord friendly. This is important because you're going to be a landlord. And so that's going to make a difference on how the local laws will help you as being a landlord. This is off of a website called rentcafe.com. If you look at the different states, red is kind of the most landlord friendly, and blue is the most renter friendly. If you'll notice, kind of the West Coast is mostly landlord friendly, and the South and kind of Midwest is a lot more landlord friendly. One of the biggest things that you're gonna have to deal with as a landlord is kicking people out of the house when they stop paying rent. So if you take a look at the different states, somewhere like Texas, it could take you like 3 weeks to get somebody out of your house. If you look in somewhere like Vermont, it'll take you like 9 months. So that's huge when it comes to owning multiple properties and dealing with tenants on your rental property. So very important to look at. Business friendly, and this kind of goes back to job growth, people growth, where a big business is moving. This picture here is off of the business tax climate index, where the states are for the best taxes, and that's really important for big businesses, because taxes are a huge part of their expenses. So you'll see here that blue, green are the best states as far as kind of tax climate, and red are the worst states. And you can also kind of get a really good idea just off of these big magazines, Forbes, U.S. News, CNBC. They do kind of like 2018 best cities of the year and best places people are moving every single year. So U.S. News, best 10 states for business. Forbes, best states for business rankings. You see America's top states for business. So just kind of you'll get a good idea of where those rankings fall out. If you kind of just start Googling and looking at these type of websites to get an idea of how the states are doing. Okay, market cycle. This one's kind of tough. Honestly, to me, market cycle isn't as big of a deal because I'm looking at long-term investments. My plan is to buy rental properties and keep them and hold them for my life and pass them on to my children. So the cycle is, as long as the numbers work and you have positive cash flow, the cycle could go up and down multiple times, and it's not going to really matter to me. However, if you're going to buy, you should try to buy it at the best place of the market cycle as you can. And so if you're not familiar with an area, probably the best place you're going to really get to understand that is through local realtors and local property management companies, and just call them and ask them, get an idea of where the market sits. You can use just regular websites like biggerpockets.com, get into the feeds, the discussion forums for the local areas, figure out how, just start asking questions. You can look at, just regular realtor websites, realtor.com, truly.com. And then, the Neighborhood Scout, Sperling's Best. You can also look at the tax appraisers' websites. If you choose a city, go to the tax appraiser's website and just pick a house and look up how it's been appraising and see. A lot of times it'll show you the last 10 years of how the property appraised. You can kind of see where it sits in the market cycle. Familiarity. So this one to me is really important. You kind of need to have a really good idea of where you're going to be investing and where you're going to be having these long-term assets. So first and foremost, look in your hometown. If you're from a small town with not a whole lot of people and not a lot of jobs, and obviously don't look there. But maybe there's a suburb around there that's a bigger city. And if the numbers make sense there and kind of fits into these categories above, then definitely that's the first place to start. If you have family and friends in areas or people you trust, and people you trust can be kind of wide ranging. It's if it's like for us, the Military Investor Network, there's an inherent trust for people in the military, at least for me, that I would choose to invest with over someone else that I don't know at all. Referrals, again, it's people you trust that refer you to somebody else, and then you can kind of get to know them and get to know the area and put your trust and faith in them. Go see it for yourself. A $250, $300 plane ticket is going to be well worth your time and effort to go check out, a city on a weekend. Make it a business trip. Go spend the weekend. Go check out, drive the neighborhoods, get a feel for what's going on in the city, and then start creating your team. You can make your own team. If you're going to a new location, buy plane ticket, go for a weekend, go for a week, and start making your team, building it. Read David Green's book, Long Distance Real Estate Investing. It gives you tons of great tips on how to start building your team. Even if you don't even go there, you can start building your team through email and phone calls and Skype or whatever else. So, but super important is to get familiar with an area before you start investing. And then the numbers obviously have to make sense for long-term investing. And there's tons and tons of different numbers, tons of calculations on how these numbers are calculated. You want to be looking at your return on investment, your cash-on-cash return. If you're in kind of the big commercial space, apartments, multifamily, you want to look at cap rates. You want to look at the appreciation in a certain market. And although I don't use appreciation as a part of my decision making, appreciation is nice. If you're going to invest in an area where there's growth, you're going to hope for appreciation. Rent to purchase ratio, this is a big one that I look at. You want to make sure that the 1% rule is in place. That means rents on a property are going to be at least 1% of your purchase price or your after repair value price. So numbers absolutely have to make sense for where you're going to invest. So what's most important? To me, the last two are the most important. Familiarity and the numbers have to make sense. We're investing in an area where it doesn't fit into all of this criteria. There's a few that might not fit, but most important, the numbers make sense, and we're familiar with the area, and we have a great team in place, and it's going to work out for you, I promise. Okay, so and lastly, you can look at all these websites, look at all this information, and just continue to get educated. Find out where the trends are. Find out where other investors are investing. Go to the big, bigger pockets. Go to Real Wealth Network. Go to these big professional investor websites. Go to blogs, listens to podcasts, go to meetups, go to REI events, and network. Figure out where other investors are investing and ask why. And you'll soon kind of figure out and see trends. And it's okay to jump on those trends and invest in the same locations because if someone else is doing it, it probably makes sense, especially if it's kind of the big professional investors that are doing it for their full-time jobs. So Meetups are really important. REI events are really important. Get out of your area. Go to the big REI events, and learn, network, ask questions. It's really important if you're going to build on your real estate investing career. Okay, that's it. Hopefully that's quick, down and dirty. Hopefully that helps a bit. If you have any questions, feel free to go to the Military Investor Network. We have a discussion forum. Become a member if you're a military active duty member, or a veteran, or a spouse of a military or veteran, and join us. It's free, and start posting discussion questions, and I hope you enjoy it. Please pass this on to anyone else you might think. Please like it on YouTube, and share it with all of your friends and family. All right.